Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Talk Cocky with me. What's up, everybody? We are back. Been a couple weeks, I think. Didn't have crap to say after Missouri, and work's just been slammed. Haven't had time to really get anything going. Got Zach Owens on today with us. What's up, Zach?
Hey, man. How's it going?
What's up? What's up? We are going to, I guess a couple weeks ago, we got to talking, and we were going to try to get something last week. I think you had something. We're both busy this time of year, so we're like, oh, let's do this. Can't do this one. What about this? Oh, no, can't do that one. So here we are, finally getting together to record. Want to start this episode off a little bit, throwing out some props to other Carolina sports, whether NCAA club or whatever the hell they want to call it. First, shout out to the equestrian team. They got number 6 in dual discipline. Have absolutely no clue what that means. I'm assuming there's probably some barrel racing in there, but that's about the extent of my equestrianness.
Yeah, I can't add too much. I saw they beat UGA. I have attended one USC equestrian event. I briefly dated a girl on the equestrian team back in college, so I went to one, but all I saw was horses jumping over poles and different things like that. I couldn't tell you what it was, but it was pretty neat.
And here we are with the most in-depth equestrian breakdown in Talk Cocky history. So.
There you go.
Then also on the women's tennis side, I apologize if I don't get this name right, but I believe it was Anya Ackley, finished number 20, and then Sarah Hamner, number 6 in the, again, I think they do NCAA for tennis. Then I saw where the men's tennis, Toby Samuel and Connor Thompson finished number 1 in doubles. I do know what that is. That's where two guys are out there at the same time on the same side of the court.
You've done a little more research than me because outside of about 4 sports or so, if I don't see it on Twitter, I don't know much, and I haven't seen anything on that from the South Carolina tennis teams.
Yeah, I did. I think I follow all of our sports, just kind of want to see an eye on a little bit of all of it. But yeah, I in high school, so I played baseball through school and everything. And in high school, I took tennis class as a PE class just because they wouldn't let me do basketball 4 times a day, and couldn't do it. I either hit it straight into the net or over the fence, and I couldn't find that sweet spot in the middle. But it's getting colder, so that means it's also Gamecock hockey time, and we definitely have to send props out to those guys. One, for having possibly the greatest Twitter page of any team that we have. Well, let's not beat around the bush. They do actually have the greatest Twitter page of any sports team that we do have, but also for beating the dog snot out of Clemson last week as well. So props to those guys, and whoever designed that new blacked out Cox jersey, that is badass. And if y'all sell one of those, let me know. I want it bad. And
sign me up for either one of them. I've been trying to get my hands on one. I couldn't tell you much more about hockey than I can equestrian, but if you're not following them, definitely make sure you follow the Gamecock hockey team and support them. And they do well at the club level.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully one day they'll be able to break into the NCAA. I know it'd be kind of weird having one in Columbia versus playing all the teams with the studs going to the NHL from the north, but I think it'd be pretty cool. But it's still a pretty cool program they've got going, and it's probably been going on for 15 or 20 years now.
Mm-hmm.
They've been pretty successful.
Well, and crazy thing about it too, I was actually at the first ever Gamecock Clemson hockey game.
Oh, wow.
They played right after I don't know if they were still the Greenville Growl or whatever the hell they called it up here at the time. They've had 14 names. But me and a buddy of mine were sitting here watching the game, and all of a sudden, like, people come walking in, and we kept hearing announcements about the first ever Clemson Carolina game, blah, blah, blah. But people come walking in the third quarter, and we're going, or the third period, and we're like, what? Why are people showing up now? This is weird. The game's over. What are y'all doing? And kept on. And then finally they go, "Oh, and stay after the game for the." We're like, "What?" So we both hung out. He was a Clemson fan, I'm a Carolina fan, so it kind of worked out, and we had that one. I think we won that one as well. I don't remember. It's been quite a few years. Then also that means it is b-ball time. We are a women's basketball team school, so the Fighting Staleys are off hot already. Don't really see a whole lot of change, which is a good thing for the women's basketball team as long as they stay at the peak. Couple of massive recruits committing. Where we at? I guess last week. My days washed together at this point.
Yeah, I think I saw a couple of them on Twitter again. It's in women's basketball. I don't follow it quite as much. I'll see when they win and lose, but I do know they've got a couple of really big games coming up. One, of course, it should be a drubbing of the team from the upstate. I think that's tonight, but that one shouldn't be anywhere close. But I do think they play number two Stanford this
Mm-hmm.
weekend on
Yep.
Sunday at Stanford. So that's gonna be a big one. They had a big win last weekend against Maryland, and I heard there was a little skirmish and
Yeah, that was
going
fun.
on. Then I looked at the score and I was like, I guess those girls were just mad because they were getting their tails dragged around the floor.
Well, so yeah, so I didn't get to actually watch the game, but kind of from what I've picked up from pieces here and there was, I think it was relatively competitive at the skirmish, and then it was not because I saw a lot of posts from both sides of it where um, people from Maryland was, "Oh, y'all knew y'all didn't want this, y'all backing down now," da, 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 da. And there wasn't quite as much trash talking after the fact.
Yeah, I could imagine not. And that was kind of, playing against Maryland. They've had a good program
Mm-hmm.
for the last several years, and obviously Dawn's running a good program here. And they, of course, the men's game wasn't even on TV, but two
Yeah.
of them, on at the same time, makes it difficult, to watch both or, pick one or the other.
Well, and speaking of the men's team, I'll actually let you start off on this one. What's your thoughts so far with? I guess we have to talk about GG and Michi and Coach Paris.
Yeah, I mean, they've won two games. They've both been, very small margins, but two teams from your home state, and you won both of those, so you can't complain. And always fun beating Clemson in anything. If we have a chess team that plays against Clemson, let me know about it so I can talk some junk. But
Well,
I
now, if
think
we want to talk about things that I have absolutely zero clue of how it works or how to win or anything, chess is number one.
it's a fun game. I grew up. My dad was in the Marines. I think that's like a Marine thing, but he taught me at a young age, and I enjoy playing. I wouldn't ever claim to be being good. I think my older brother probably beat me 700 out of 750 times I've played him in my life. But um, getting back to basketball, yeah, I mean, I think GG, I saw he won the SEC Freshman of the Week, so
Mm-hmm.
that's great honors in the his first week of college basketball, and he's supposed to be gearing up or starting high school basketball for his
Yeah.
senior year right now. So that's awesome. And you can just tell that he watching the game Friday. I didn't get to catch the South Carolina State one, as you said. Both of us were busy last week. I didn't, 6 in the morning until 8 at night sales meeting stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
you can tell he from the Clemson game. It seemed he's just kind of getting used to that college game speed. I mean, I know you can play all day you against the top talent and stuff, but when it comes down to it, those guys are still not your D1 ACC, SEC talent playing every game. So you could tell he's kind of getting used to that. And he looked good, had a really good first half. And then just the entire team kind of had a struggle in the second half. But Coach Paris is 2-0, 2 games, and he's beaten the in-state rival, which got beat pretty bad last year. So
Mm-hmm.
nothing but positive things to say right now. Got a big weekend upcoming in the Charleston Classic.
Yeah, and I'm really high on Coach Paris right now. I watch his interviews and like every single thing, or I guess press conference, whatever you want to say, and every single thing that comes out of his mouth, I just absolutely love. You can tell that he is very calculated with what he lets come out of his mouth, which is the exact opposite of me. So I can appreciate that from him. I mean, you can literally see as words are coming out of his mouth that he's thinking of how to phrase something so it comes out exactly the way he wants it. And I didn't. I saw parts of the Clemson game, so I'm up here in the sticks in Greenville, and actually still do not have internet or cable. So if anybody that listens, if y'all got a hookup, tell like Charter to come out here and run this for me, because they keep saying it's like $5,000 to run it, and I ain't paying that. Or if anybody wants to sponsor the podcast, I will give you a sponsorship for $5,000 for internet access. Lifetime sponsorship on the greatest podcast of all time. There you go.
Yeah,
but it, I didn't get to see the entire whole basketball game. So highlights, interviews, everything that I can get to, and a few things that really stuck out with me. So background a little bit with me is I grew up playing basketball. Obviously, kind of everybody did play basketball. Baseball was more my love, was more of what I did, was a little bit better at. So that's what I went through school doing. But I've also actually been refereeing basketball for 23 years. This year looks like it might actually be the first year that I don't in 23. So bad knees will do that to you. I'm 38 and can't hardly walk half the time. But anyway, so basketball is one of those that I really kind of understand in how the ball moves, how guys get open and stuff. And seeing the way Coach Parrish coaches and understanding how a game works, one of the greatest things I ever heard already out of Gigi's mouth was that Coach Parrish has a rule that layman's term, if you completely bust balls on defense, if you go hard on defense, he lets you go play on offense. And that has to be, which I don't know that we have anybody still. I mean, Carter is obviously, but I don't think we really have too many guys from last year's team, which is so funny how loyal you can be to a guy that everybody apparently didn't like. But anyway, we're not going to talk about that other coach. But it's refreshing to see a coach that trusts his players and
Absolutely.
Doesn't have to. And this isn't just a Frank Martin thing. It's just in general. It's fresh to see a coach that says, hey, it's game 1 of the season. They just tied it up with just a few seconds to play. Y'all go make a play. I trust you. Go out, make a play, get it done. We're not going to call a timeout. We're not going to draw something up. Go have fun, play basketball.
Yeah.
And they go out, make a play. And one of the other things, actually, go ahead, say your point.
Oh, no, I mean, that was cool. And just to your point, he didn't make too big of a deal about the ridiculous foul. He didn't take it away and put an emphasis on it to take his players' focus away, which I thought was extremely professional and great leadership by him, because a lot of coaches, and I'm sure your armchair coaches like myself were blowing up. They called a foul 30 feet from the basketball with 2 seconds to play in a 2-point game. It almost seemed like it was, they were looking for a foul from where they called it. And I mean, you being a referee, you got a better idea of it than me, but just, I don't know if you saw that foul, but, it was beyond the 3-point line. I mean, it was on a box out, but it seemed really, or as I guess it looked like the referee was looking for the foul, and then Coach Parrish didn't make a big deal out of that, put his head down, let the players know before, in the middle of the foul call, what to do. And they went out and executed.
Yeah. And coming from a ref too, and this is, I get both sides of it, because I'll watch games with complete garnet glasses on, and we never foul. They always foul. But one thing that my dad would always tell me, and it was funny, like, again, I've done this for years. We refereed together most of the time, and he would sit there every single time, and I'm like, I know, Dad. Dude, I get it. But he would always say, late in the fourth quarter, if there's a timeout, we'd get together, and he'd say, we don't decide this game. The players decide it.
Right.
He said, if there's an obvious foul, call it. Do your job. He said, but we are not deciding this game. Let them do it. At the same time, I also get when there's a really close game, because Clemson was coming back. They had the momentum. They've got that charge. when a game gets that momentum flowing, when you get a kind of a quick pace going, even as an official, you kind of get zoned in. So, kind of playing devil's advocate to it, I I can understand how an official in that moment would kind of lose focus of 2 point game, 2 seconds left on the clock.
Right.
Is an illegal screen or is fighting through a screen a worthy call to make at this point?
Is that what the actual call ended up being? Because
I'm
to
not
me, it
sure.
looked like it was,
Yeah,
I
I
think it
don't
was on
know.
the box out on the 3 point line. With after Clemson had missed a shot to try to tie or win the game. Or,
Yeah, I'm not sure to be honest with you. Like I said, I've only seen some highlights, and there wasn't a whole lot showing of the actual foul.
and they
Uh,
didn't show a replay of it during
yeah,
the game, so I
well,
couldn't.
and
It
that's
was so
been one
far
of
away
my
from the ball, you couldn't tell what happened. I mean, I assume it was on the box out. I really don't know.
yeah.
My
I've
reason.
noticed lately, and especially kind of on football games too. I've noticed replays, especially when penalties are concerned, aren't getting played as often.
I have as
I
well.
I'm not saying that there is anything going on nefarious, but it's kind of strange that ESPN now on game day and everything else, they talk about betting odds and they constantly have betting shows on and they're constantly talking about the spread. And then any questionable calls never get aired anymore.
Right. No, I agree with that. I mean, I guess I'm hypersensitive to it on the SEC network. That tends to be where we play every game.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'll get to see this Saturday if it's any different there. But I've noticed the same thing that there's just, and I don't know if the SEC network, SEC officials, they're not trying to have make them look bad on their
Mm-hmm.
premier network or what it may be. But I've certainly noticed that, and I mean, I feel like with that foul, with 2 seconds left in the game. And literally, the foul forced the game to be tied. They missed the shot. They took 2 free throws, made them both, and tied the game from it.
Mm-hmm.
And you never even get to see what the foul is
Yeah.
because it was so far away from the ball. You couldn't even see it live. Like the camera, the two guys were barely even in the frame when the camera was there, and you're looking at the ball. You're not like, oh, let me see what these two guys are doing over here. Like, it
Yeah,
would seem
that's the thing. Like
look
it's
at it.
that far off the ball, away from the play at that time of the game, unless it's egregious, in my opinion, shouldn't be called. That play
Agreed.
where it's at is not going to alter the game. It's not going to alter that play. Again, if he's got the guy by the jersey and completely untucks his jersey because he's holding that much, yeah, absolutely call it foul. That's a foul. But
And
if
I
he,
mean,
if he
who
might have
knows?
kind of, did a little stiff arm or a hand check 30 feet from the basket,
Yeah, I have no idea what it was, but you couldn't see how bad or petty of a foul it was. And I mean, to your point, I grew up playing basketball, played high school basketball. My claim to fame, I played with Trevor Booker, who
uh,
played at the team from the upstate, and
uh-huh.
spent 9 years in the NBA. I played with him in high school at Union, and so I understand the game. Certainly not to a referee's point, and I stopped playing after my junior year to focus on baseball. But as a player, you're furious when a call like that is made. I mean, if it's on the ball or on the specific rebound,
Yeah.
it's like that's understandable. It's still frustrating with that amount of time in the game, but when it's you know away from the ball, and
Mm.
especially for the people who didn't see it that are listening, and you know the ball was shot from the right wing, and it rebounds to the elbow. The foul was called on the left wing as the ball hit the rim, and it didn't make sense. I don't mean to harp on it too much more, but
Yeah, it's a strange. I mean, again, in that situation, me as an official, I don't, not knowing what it looked like you said, even if they did show the replay, we wouldn't saw it. But it just seems odd that you would call something completely away from the ball with that much time left in it. But then, kind of, fast forward back to the last play. One of the things that I had pointed out earlier this week when the still images and all this came out, um, if you really pay attention, well, no, it was when the different angles of the videos came out. But there's one shot from kind of overhead that if you pay attention, Gigi and Michi are both calling for the ball. So, let's just say, for instance, I'm going to call LeBron out because, if he listens to my podcast, he's going to get all pissy and post something on Twitter, and then I'll get like 3 more listeners. But like LeBron, for instance, most of his career, where people kind of wanted to dog him, is that he doesn't want to take the final shot. Arguably the greatest player in this era, not of all time. MJ's got that. Come after me if you're a LeBron lover. But kind of his biggest critique for all times has been he doesn't want the last shot. He doesn't like that pressure.
Right.
Whatever. It says a lot, especially for Gigi, like you had mentioned, should be a senior in high school right now. I feel like we're going to get flashbacks of Jake Bentley where every third comment's going to be, he should be a senior in high school right now.
Except Jake Bentley was like 20 years old.
Yeah.
And he was supposed to be in high school.
Yeah. And, but for him to, be, I'm assuming 16 or probably 17, 18, whatever he is, his first ever actual college game. He's from in-state. He understands the Clemson-Carolina rivalry. To be at the top of the key with both arms up saying, feed me the ball, feed me the ball, feed me the ball. And again, Michi's on the wing doing the same exact thing. He's got both hands up. Give me the ball, give me the ball, give me the ball. Chico takes the shot, nails it. Literally, Gigi's jumping through the roof.
Right.
He can't contain himself. He's so happy for his teammate. Like, when he's celebrating, he's not turning to the bench. He's not, turning to the fans or celebrating or just jumping up and down with himself. He's pointing to his teammate that made the shot. And that's one of the coolest things that, again, you playing sports, you'll kind of get it. Like, he's so thoroughly excited for his teammate that he did that. Not so much of, hey, we won the game. But both of those guys wanting the ball at the last second. Technically a third guy that they did have the ball and made the shot, but you've got multiple guys not afraid of the moment, willing to take the shot. And then when someone else took the shot, nailed the shot, everybody's just happy for each other. So that says a lot to me about what kind of team environment he set up. But I do want to segue to one thing you mentioned a while ago. You said you played baseball at Union?
I did, yeah.
When did you graduate?
2008.
Okay, you were after me. So I played baseball at Blue Ridge. We played Union in I guess, division championship when Roscoe Crosby was a senior.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I beat Roscoe Crosby, me individually, personally, just me by myself. I beat Roscoe Crosby for his final game. But to this day, I will die on this hill that I've never seen a cleaner, more pure swing than he had. It was the Ken Griffey Jr. from the left side, just one of the most beautiful swings ever. I played second base, and you know how y'all's baseball field's at the end of the football field, and then it drops off, and then you have the big pine trees or whatever. He hit a ball so hard. Luckily, it was a home run. If it was a line drive, it would have hit me, and I wouldn't have reacted to it. It was literally over my head before I saw the ball. It came off his bat and was above my head before my eyes caught it, and then it cleared the pine trees in the air.
Well, what's funny, man, is I remember that home run. I was at that game. I was probably like, 10 years old, 9 years old, something like that. And it was
for everyone listening. He literally just called me old, but it's cool. It's cool. Go for it. Go for it.
No, man, but I mean, it was a big deal at home. I mean, that guy's he rewrote the history book, record book in football and in baseball. If he wanted to play basketball or tennis or whatever else it would have been, he would have done it in those sports as well. I mean, the guy was a 5-star athlete in football and was drafted in the first round in baseball. And I could go into we could have a whole series of podcasts on the unfortunate events of what happened to him afterwards. Yeah. But
although he went to Clemson, he is one of the, you hate the way things broke down for him, but the most demoralizing moment in my entire life was the first time we played, because we played him game 1, lost, came back, I think beat Eastside, maybe. I'm not sure who we played round 2, beat them, had to go back and play them again because we ended up in the same division with them and Travelers Rest, who at the time had Taylor Harbin that went to Clemson. They had Joey Friddle went to South Carolina. They had multiple guys that went D1 schools. I mean, Travis Rest back then was insane. But we got off the bus at Union. Every pro scout was there, sitting on the top fence, looking down over the field. And when our bus pulled up, every single one turns around. Every scout. Guys start walking off the bus. The very last person gets off the bus, and every single scout turns back around. I'm like, oh, huh, got it. Sent that message loud and clear, guys. Appreciate that one. But we are not a old school, high school podcast. We are a Gamecock podcast. So let's hit on. It's football time. Let's start at least on the most positive that we can do. Special teams this season has been undeniably the best part of our team, except Missouri game. They even kind of faltered in that one. But Saturday night, another touchdown, another block, more great returns. That's why I gave the Gamecock Eats Ate 'em Up award. Pete Limbo had to win that one. One, because it was the only shining part, but the special teams right now is just phenomenal. I hope and pray that everyone around this program understands that, and I really hope that we're able to put however many zeros on the check that Coach Limbo wants to stay. I'm not sure what he wants for his future. I don't know if he wants another head coach gig, what his aspirations are as a coach, but if he wants to stay here and if he wants to stay the special teams coach, I really hope that everyone that makes the decisions understands the difference in the games that he's been making, and we keep him here.
Absolutely. He was nominated for, he was one of two special teams coaches in the country nominated for the top assistant. I saw that yesterday or the day before.
Yep.
And it's been a difference. He's been a difference maker. Absolutely. And I don't know if did you watch the little Gamecocks Hard Knocks knockoff before the season started?
Yeah. The Welcome Home one.
Yeah. Welcome Home. That's what it's called. So I don't know. An interesting comment that he made during that was that, it didn't seem like he has like a ton of aspirations to go and be a head coach again. He's been there, done that. It seemed like, he's happy with what he's doing, and we just need to, if that's, of course he's not going to say that, something else on something like that on camera that's going to be broadcast to the fans. But if that's true, we just need to make sure we pay him and keep him here, because he's an absolutely a difference maker.
Yeah, and he's made a few comments in his short tenure here already that I feel the same way. I don't want to jinx it because, like you said, you don't know if maybe there is that one job out there that came calling and said, hey, you can do this and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, okay, yeah, I'll give it another shot. But from just comments over time, he seems to be happy with where he's at. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he just seems like, he's able to still help at a higher level. I think we also have him with the moniker of assistant head coach. So he's able to still kind of be at a higher level. And then he's able to put a product on the field that is one of the best in the country. So yeah. Selfishly, I want to say, I don't think he would take another job anywhere else. But we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Now, as far as coaches that I do kind of encourage to find jobs somewhere else, we can talk about the offense now. And
yeah, it's been a rough going for sure. And, without being too critical, it's just what we're doing is not working. It's the fans, you're going to lose the fan base if changes aren't made. And that's really I want to put it. I'm sure Satterfield's probably going to be listening to this podcast, so want to make sure that I don't go too hard. But I mean, it's just what we're doing is not working. Whatever adjustments have been made don't seem to work unless we're playing clearly lesser competition, and that to our fan base, it's not acceptable. It's we're not going to sit back and allow that to happen at the pace that's going because he hasn't shown any signs of significant improvement to me, and I think most people would say that from the 13, 10, so 23 games. He hasn't shown any signs of significant improvement outside of the North Carolina game last year that he can build off of something. And, when you get that large a sample size at this point, I don't feel confident that, he would be able to have any more success. And hopefully I'm wrong. But hopefully I'm wrong and he's doing it at another school.
Well, and me personally, and I know that I kind of irritate a lot of people because I'm that forever optimistic guy that if there's a minute on the clock and we're down 2 touchdowns, hey, we can take this next play to the house, do an onside kick, take the next one. It's still possible.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
I'm the guy, bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, down 4, nobody on. Hey, we still got an out. Like it's literally not over. So that's just how I see it. And I 100% agree with you. I think at this point, barring any insane, massive outburst of offense over these next 2, potentially 3 games, I don't know what bowl game we'll get, what that date's going to be, and where contracts run out or whatever there. But barring any like 500 back-to-back 500 yards and 50-point games, and the offense just throttles Tennessee and Clemson, I don't see how you can retain him for next year. Right or wrong, because I think our offense has more issues than just the plays. There are definitely times 3rd and 18 when we're not moving the ball that we throw a wide receiver screen. That's stupid. Why are we doing that?
Right.
Especially in the fourth quarter, down a couple of touchdowns. That to me is a dumb call. The other times you kind of have to argue, okay, we're not seeing the full play. There's been multiple times of, well, the play was designed to go here. It was open. The ball didn't get thrown, or the ball got thrown over here. So you always have the argument of, is it execution or is it the actual plays? Again, 100% agree. There are times some of these plays have been absolutely putrid. I think our offense also has a confidence issue. And love him, hate him, whatever people want to say, I think it starts at the top of the players. And I really think Spencer Rattler right now is having confidence issues.
Yes.
I think it 100% started last year under Lincoln Riley. You playing sports, you've probably experienced it. If the coach pulls you for another guy, you don't feel like it's justified. And then all you hear for the next months is how, you look at his numbers, maybe he was having a bad game. Okay, cool. We all have bad games. That happens. But if you look at his number, he wasn't struggling. He wasn't having a bad season. He wasn't sucking. But you put in a backup, and everybody's got their stories of whether it was intentional so he could take Caleb to Southern Cal with him, whatever. But you lose your job in the way that he did, and everybody's just, for some reason, whatever, the kid when he was 17 said some crap on documentary. Who gives a damn? Like, why are people so worried about what some high school kid said? Oh, well, that doesn't happen. I can guarantee you on every single high school practice football field, every college field, you got a teammate walking up to them going, you suck. You suck. Like, that's how teammates cut up with each other. That's, we saw Spencer Rattler turn into his guy going, hey, man, you suck. You're terrible. But what you don't see is how the other QB all the time was like, oh, Spencer's awesome. I love him. Yeah, because
Right.
he knows he's joking. He knows he's cutting up. Like that's just how guys talk to each other. Women have to boost each other up. Guys, we intentionally cut each other down. That's just how we talk.
Right.
And And it blows my
Absolutely.
mind that people just ramrod him, whatever that term is, and still want to hold him accountable because of a documentary that was able to edit every single thing that he said and cut certain things out to look this way. But he spent over a year being told, oh, well, he lost his job to a freshman because he sucks. And then he comes here, he's having to learn a new program or a new system, get used to all the new wide receivers. We're moving people in and out. And then you have the Arkansas and the Georgia game that didn't go exactly as planned. Offense kind of struggled. And the season's just, it hasn't grown or it hasn't built up for him. And he, to me, is a confidence guy. You can tell when he stepped into one of the throws against Vandy, I literally called it. Like, as soon as he stepped up and he reared back and went, touchdown, because you could see his posture, his demeanor. As he stepped into that ball, he was like, this is money. I know it. It's a touchdown. Let's go. And that's what he's missing. If he would have hit some of those home run balls earlier in the season, I think the offense could have picked up a little bit. But he was just off on some of those. A couple of those got dropped. A couple of those got picked because of drops. I think it's just a snowball effect of the confidence just hasn't built around this offense. And again, with the offensive line, he feels like he's got to scramble for his life after 2 seconds in the pocket, which usually he does. And it's just a snowball of all around. So do I think it's completely the coach's fault? No. Is it the coach's job to get the offense ready? Yes. I just think this is a bad offense, though.
Yeah, I mean it's I think one of the things that I struggle with as a fan, and I think a lot of our fan base struggles with, is you can look at where Muschamp left our program and what we've had to recover from.
Mm-hmm.
You look offensively and defensively, quarterback is the only two deep that we have 4 or 5 stars. We got a 5-star at quarterback and a
Mm-hmm.
4-star at and as the backup. And you look everywhere else across the board, there's not a single two deep that, outside of wide receiver, which Antoine Wells coming out was a 3-star. Dak Joyner wasn't was a quarterback, not a wide receiver. So you can't give him that there. And so then even you look at receiver, your two deep is, 3 stars. And then the offensive line is just about 3-star all the way across, except for I think Ja'Kai Moore
Mm-hmm.
and Wanham. And we just, one of the things is our athletes, and you think that they develop and everything else, you hope that they do, but I think one of the things is just our talent level is not quite as good as some of these. When we play teams that are comparative at our talent level, at our star level, if you will, we tend to perform pretty well. But
Mm-hmm.
then when you play against those teams that are just loaded with 4 and 5 stars, outside of Texas A&M, I guess, they're loaded with 5 stars across the board, and we took them to the woodshed. But
Well,
we
their
just
guys
struggled.
move a little slower because they have so much cash in their pants and their socks, and like they can't move through the cash that's weighing them down.
That's true. I thought you were going to say they were moving slower because of what they were doing in the locker room pregame. Uh, yes, maybe it's both. Uh,
I don't
but
care what they're doing as long as we win. Y'all keep
right,
doing you,
exactly.
A&M.
Yeah, but it's so. I mean, I think that part of it plays a part, and especially the offensive line versus the SEC defensive lines, because every
Mm-hmm.
defensive line we play against is stacked with 4s and 5 stars, and we just so I think that makes it difficult. And getting to Rattler, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, you can point to a lot of drops this season that could change the course of drives, change the course
Mm-hmm.
of games, change the course of, and absolutely his confidence because even against South Carolina State, it's supposed to be the get right game for him, and him to because we ran the ball over Charlotte, and South Carolina State was the game that he was going to be able to get to open it up. And you have 2 passes. Now I remember looking at the stat from Pro Football Focus, 2 passes that were intercepted that he had 0 interceptable passes for the game. That's
Oh
how
yeah, yeah.
great throws, and they were just essentially just tossed to the defense. And there should be a stat for interception that are on the quarterback and interceptions on the receivers
Yeah.
because it's unfair to him for that to be on there. But I mean that's the way it is. But those are confidence.
Hmm.
They take away from the confidence, and it's hard to do it. I mean, you played anyone that's played sports, it's like you it's tough when you're not confident and when
Yeah.
you're having those bad break. It seems like everything that goes, you hit a guy for a deep ball right in his hands and for a touchdown. Was that the A&M game?
Hmm.
And it goes right through his hands.
Yeah.
It it deflates you.
Well, and not it just in sports too. You'd mentioned you're in or around sales as well. That's what I do. And I mean, right now is my busy time of year. This is where I make my money, and I've had a couple of days in a row where I've hit personal record after personal record, just keep crushing it, and then the very next day have like no sales, and like that's just part of it. I get it, but when you're in the middle of that day and you're in the middle of that game, you can keep telling yourself, okay, I've got 4 more hours. This is going to pick up. Same thing in the game of, okay, we got another quarter, only down a touchdown. Boom, we can get this going. Like in the Florida game, we're trying to come back and then we have all those fumbles.
Right.
But you're like, okay, stay positive, stay positive. Here we go. We got it. Damn, fumble. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's go. Let's go. We got it. Bam, interception. Damn. Like you can say all you want to. You can say the shake it off. You can say the let's keep going. Mentally, you're having a bad game. That's where I know a lot of people were wanting Luke Doty put in and hey, let's get some change and stuff. We could have done that. I would have been okay with it, but Spencer wasn't the one fumbling the ball.
Right. He was
So I mean,
making good passes.
yeah, it's he hasn't he hasn't been the complete the end all problem of the offense. If he was throwing balls straight to the defense, really most of his picks too, they've been at times of the games where we kind of need him to force the ball into. That Arkansas game, that one hurt a little bit, but really we needed to go for that play. And yes, he ended up throwing it straight to the DB, but we needed something to happen.
Right.
And it wasn't going to happen without taking a shot. He took a shot, it went the other way. And then we had the 14 onside kicks that went straight to their guys, whatever. But another thing that I kind of noticed too was in um, in Sat's interview where he was talking about, oh yeah, when we lost Lloyd, the offense has really struggled, blah blah. I understand that, but we weren't crushing it when we did have Lloyd.
Right.
We were moving the ball. Yes, we were getting first downs, and Marshawn Lloyd is a phenomenal player. Uh, but it wasn't like we were really crushing it before.
Right. And your job as a coach is to make those adjustments. Injuries, it's football. Injuries happen. Every game, injuries happen. And sometimes it's going to be a key player. And you've got to move on. I mean, I know it's apples to oranges as far as the talent level, but Lattimore got injured 2 years in a row, and all we did was keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
We lost a couple of key games, but you know, we put the next guy up, and Spurrier was able to figure it out. And Satterfield, or and whoever our offensive coordinator moving forward is, when those things are going to happen, and you've got to move on and figure it out. And I don't know, getting into the Jaheim Bell at running back.
Mm.
2 weeks ago, everyone's like, we got to get him the ball more. We got to get him the ball. Got to get him the ball. So we get him the ball. I don't necessarily agree with how we're getting him the ball, but the reaction from the fans is like, oh, he shouldn't be a running back. So nobody really said anything when he was running the ball earlier, and now they are. I think the folks are just completely just
I I
fed
think
up
with
with.
and I think with the Jaheim Bell usage, and I've put it on a couple of posts. I don't know whose decision this is. I'm going to give Coach Beamer the benefit of the doubt. Uh, I really hope it's not his because this would be very, if I am correct on this, this would be very poor um, decision making and reactions. But to me, it almost seems like you've heard from the fans, why is Jaheim not touched it? Why is Jaheim not touched it? Where's Bell? Where's Bell? Where's Bell? He got 0 touches. What's going on? And now it's almost like it's a fine. You want him? Here. We're going to run him up the gut. We're going to run him up the gut there. Hey, he touched it 38 times. They were all between the tackle runs, and that's not what Jaheim Bell does. But hey, he touched it. You can't say we didn't let him touch it. There,
Right.
shut up. And that's how that seems. Jaheim Bell's not a between the tackles runner.
No,
Everybody kept saying the Debo Samuel #2. Debo doesn't run between the tackles. It's getting him out in space, and that's what Jaheim can do. Now, my personal thoughts on where he was earlier in the season, I've seen multiple video breakdowns of, because they kept talking about packages and, oh, he wasn't in this package. We were trying to run this. He wasn't in this package. If you go back and really kind of look at some tapes, there's been times where he's been in and we do our little slot screen or we do a run out of that side. He's not the best blocking tight end we have. He's not the
right.
best blocking wide receiver we have.
I
When you
think,
have guys that can block and can do the other things, they're going to get more playing time. And when you've got a guy that can't block and he only goes on the field when the ball is going to come to him, defenses are going to pick up on that. So it's, we've got guys now we've recruited, we've brought in through the portal. We've got guys that can catch the ball, make plays, but they can also block. So if you've got any holes in your armor, doesn't matter how great you are with the ball, if you can't be out there the rest of the time, you're going to get fewer snaps. That's just how it works. And I just feel like this latest run Jaheim up the middle just to say we gave him the ball seems petty. And again,
yeah.
I hope I'm absolutely wrong on this. I
So
hope
I
that's
don't even
not.
think it's. I
I
think it's
hope
one
that
of the
that's
answers.
not what's going on. But to me, it seems like a here, shut up from whoever's making that call.
See, I think it's less of an answer to the fans, more an answer to him and to his family,
That could be it
trying
too.
to keep him around. Because I don't know. I mean, if the NFL scouts were already so high on him after one game, I mean, you got to think that if he decides to go pro, that his combine will really dictate it. Because it's not like we've not done anything specific this season to boost his draft stock, but I don't think he's played enough to really have hurt it.
Yeah.
So, there had to be some sort of, in my opinion, there had to be some sort of rumbling inside of, his camp that is more the response. I mean, you
Well,
really
it
hope that they're going
definitely.
to answer the fans.
I don't think it was behind the scenes. We saw
Yeah,
family members very open with some displeasure, but I think it is. I think we're both kind of in agreement on why certain things have gone certain ways, and to me, I'm not sure I like either one of them. But um, defense is already also getting thrown under a little bit. I think similar to what you said earlier, I've said it all along. I think we have talent at the top to compete with pretty much anybody. I don't think we have the depth right now that's able to go out there consistently to do all this. Um, Another thing that I've noticed too that people don't want to see and they don't want to talk about. Yeah, we've had some issues on defense as far as holes in the running game and guys getting out of place. You're not just seeing it's not upperclassmen. I think Coach Beamer made the comment that Tennessee has all of their starters are juniors or seniors. That's not us.
right.
We're starting a true freshman at safety, and that
Two
true
of them.
freshman is so good. He's one of the top defensive players in the nation. Um, but he's going to make a mistake or two a game because he's a true freshman. He hasn't seen some of this stuff, and really, that's what I've been seeing with our defense this season is no, they're not the complete lockdown fire ant defense from the 80s and the black magic and all that, but we're building these guys up for the future. And they're still keeping us in most games. I mean, the offense has to come through and do something. But the defense hasn't been as bad as it's looked at times. The defense hasn't been getting brutalized game after game after game. But what we're doing, you've got Nicky Imimawari getting a lot of playing time. DQ Smith's getting a lot of playing time. Stone Blanton's getting a ton of playing time. You got guys, Bam Martin Scott, BJ Gibson transfers. We've got a lot of guys that we're getting in and getting up to speed. And that way they're going to get better. They're going to be able to add more depth. So you're also giving guys some rest and hopefully getting some longevity, limiting some injuries from guys that, they're not having to play the whole game and getting injured. But yeah, I don't think the defense is quite as bad as some people want to say. Yeah, we have some issues as far as the running game's concerned, but again, on some of those plays, it's where we have a lot of freshmen in and they go this way instead of that way, or they get blocked in a certain way and don't get off the block because they're a little undersized at this point as freshmen versus a junior or senior. That's just my take on the defense. I think when we've seen the defense peak, you go, damn, Clayton White's a genius. And then there's times where we've had some issues, but I
Yeah.
don't think the defense is by far our biggest concern for this team.
No, I mean, I think Clayton White's done an amazing job the last 2 years, in which he's getting a little bit of criticism right now. But like going back to your comment and my comment from earlier, the depth is not there, and our secondary has been brutalized by injuries. I mean, we're down to
and that goes back to the last staff, and you were talking about the 4 and 5 stars just not too deep. Muschamp left us with some good quality guys. I mean, we've got some 5 stars and 4 stars there. The issue was just depth.
Right.
We can compete with our starters, I believe, with about anybody. We just didn't have depth. And you can tell that is a major priority with our recruiting is we're going after the line on offense and defense, and we're putting some guys, we're getting the bodies on the defensive backfield and the linebackers. Stone Blanton's getting a ton of playing time. Personally love that one. Pup Howard, he's coming in. He's going to be a monster. Like, we're bringing in guys that are going to make changes.
Right.
And they're also going to make that depth. Yeah. We're just trying to put pieces here to hold on for right now and getting no help elsewhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I did a little research before. We had over 200 snaps by true freshmen on our defense last week. I mean, you look specifically, people talk about our run defense. Well, yeah, we've got some really good defensive alignment, but you look at our linebackers and, no shade at all to these guys, but, we've got Sherrod Green is the senior. I mean, he is a senior. He's still like he's been there forever. And Brad Johnson, but Johnson's been banged up. And then,
and Green's coming off an injury too. So
right, yeah, from last year, and after that, we're really young, and nothing against Debo Williams, but he's making a big transition, and this is his second year with us, with a big transition, and you just see like that the run that ATN broke off against us last week. You just see the linebackers get out of place, and that seems to be kind of a theme. And if you don't have linebackers that can come up and stop the run, your defensive line can only do so much. They're taking out 1 or 2 bodies, and then your linebackers are the ones that get 10, 12 tackles a game.
Yep.
And the defensive linemen are 3 or 4 tackles a game is a good game.
And Nicky Emmanuel has more tackles than anybody in the
game. And he's the safety, and that's you don't want your safety having that many tackles because they're having to step up and make those tackles in the run game because hopefully they're not completing that many passes over the middle on where the safety's doing that. And so it just goes back to depth, and Blanton and Debo Williams getting some playing time, and Bam Martin Scott, like you mentioned, and then of course the safeties, they're getting that playing time. It's going to improve. And then, like you mentioned, Pup Howard coming in. You got Donovan Westmoreland. Looks like he might end up getting a red shirt this year. I hadn't seen him but a couple of games. So you've got some talent level at linebacker, which linebacker has always been a weak spot on our team. I was at school.
It's either one of those that they've been superb or it's been a weaker area. We had the Brinkleys and we've had some great guys, but we've never had backups. that come
Yeah, we've
in.
never been good across the like. I mean,
Yeah.
linebacker has never been the strength of our team. We've had,
Hmm.
like you said, Brinkley, Norwood. You had Sky Moore, but you've never had two or three of those guys, just bone crushing guys that are going to
Yep.
stop the run and be able to do that. Most of our linebackers and throughout history, without a couple of those, are guys that are going to move over into that spur position and play against the pass more and do a little bit of a pass rush better than those run stoppers. So uh, we just got to keep recruiting it,
Hmm.
and you can't be mad at you know the lack of success there when you've got guys that are still adjusting to college life and the game speed of the
Well,
SEC and
and I think too, we've seen flashes of what a Clayton White defense can look like.
right,
He wants to put pressure on a QB and then have our DBs go out and make plays. And although we're thin at DB, they're making plays. And injuries and guys quitting on the team have emphasized the lack of depth there. But it's no issue. I mean, no quarrels with his staff. It's just that's kind of what we were left with. They're trying to put pieces together. But yeah, I think we've seen enough from Clayton White that yes, we can expect more and want more, but I don't have a problem with what's going on there. I've got about 5 minutes before I've got to bounce, so let's hit on Tennessee next week. Um, do we have it? Do we have a chance? Rick Miller will tell you he always gives me a hard time during the Arkansas game. Late in the game, we were still trying to come back. I kept, like I was saying earlier, we still got a chance. So any given Saturday, we got a chance.
that's
To
right.
me personally, I think we're going to have to play our best game of the year to win this game across the board. Uh, for the next two games, I think this is our toughest game. Um, we're going to have to get the offensive monkey off our back. Obviously, you're going to have to score to beat Tennessee. They're going to put some points up. Um, their defense isn't their strong suit, but it's not really a weak spot either. So we're going to have to take some chances. We're going to have to get some points on the board. Um, Typically, we have the better special teams of the teams that we play. Uh, we still will, but Tennessee actually has a pretty good special teams um, group as well. So you can't really say, okay, well, special teams is going to make two or three plays in this game that might be able to keep us into it. Hopefully, we can get a turnover or two. They're really good at controlling the ball security, but um, I think we're going to need a turnover or two, maybe three, to keep them from scoring, and then we're going to have to I think we've got to have at least 35.
Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment. It's definitely, like you said, it's going to have to be our best game to date in all three. I mean, maybe not the best game special teams, but defense and offensively, it's got to be our best game to date for us to be able to pull out a victory. But I'm with you. I'm always optimistic, and that's why you play the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can win any Saturday. You've seen some of those monumental upsets before. You think App State versus Michigan, Stanford versus USC. We're not 40-point dogs. We're 21 point.
Yeah.
And we beat Georgia a few years ago when we were 24-point
And
dogs.
hey, I'm
So
not above Tennessee having a bad game and we win.
that's right.
I don't care.
They've had a few bad games this year. I mean, like not like Pittsburgh and Florida are world beaters, and both of those teams had very good opportunities to beat them. So
Mm-hmm.
and they've gotten rolling recently, but then they struggled against Missouri until the fourth
Mm-hmm.
quarter, and then they really took off. So um, I don't know. That's why we're going to play the game, and hopefully we can make some magic happen and pull out a win. Nothing would make me happier than to win against them or Clemson. I mean, Clemson might make me a little happier,
Yeah.
but to bury either one of them's playoff hopes, no.
Well, and the thing too, I think for Saturday we cannot start the way that we did against them last year, the way that we did against Arkansas, Georgia, Florida. Like we've just had these games in the last 2 years of where it's okay, it's going to be a good competitive game. We might be underdogs, maybe try to pull an upset. And then you look up, it's the end of the first quarter, and we're down 21-24 to nothing. And you go, well, damn. Like, we've got to figure out how to stop that.
Yeah. And
And we've lost so many games in the last 2 years where that first quarter, we don't even know how to play football. Offense, defense, I mean, it doesn't matter. We just completely crumbled in that first quarter that you just go, ugh. Arkansas, we spotted them 21 in the first quarter, and then we made it competitive for the rest of the game. We were driving with a chance to win or to go ahead,
yeah.
and Spencer just overthrew AB, and it wasn't a design play; it was a scramble play that they were just trying to make something happen. But if he hits AB in the end zone touchdown, we're go ahead. The Florida game where, oh, well, we made some adjustments at halftime, but then we had a couple of fumbles when we came back out. You shouldn't have been in that situation.
Right.
And we've just got to avoid that for this Saturday.
And Saturday night in Williams-Brice, I mean, college football, momentum in the crowd is such a factor. It doesn't matter if you're at home or away. Getting out and getting that first score, if you're away, you can deflate the crowd a little bit, take away from it. If you get away, if you get a score and then a stop, I mean, it really changes the course of the game as far as the way the crowd's going to react. And if we can get the ball or make a stop and get the ball and score a touchdown, or get the ball, score a touchdown, it's going to really change the momentum factor and get the crowd into it. You get the crowd into it, the players are pumped up, and that gives you a chance. But I feel like, against a team like this, like you've got to get out and get a score and maybe even take the lead in the first quarter to really give yourselves a chance to win the game, to keep the crowd in it. Because if you go down even 2 touchdowns against Tennessee,
you're in trouble.
Either 2 touchdowns insurmountable, but you take the crowd out of it. If you go down 2 touchdowns, and it's going to be difficult to come back without the noise factor and everything.
Well, and it's home game at night. Willie B is going to be reluctantly rocking. We may not be blowing the roof off the place, but fans are going to show up. We're going to have, we'll have a good turnout. It's probably going to be a lot more orange after the last week. But I still believe we're going to show up with a pretty good crowd. Give them something to cheer about, and I think the fans are going to be there.
The last game of the year.
We're going to be there. We're going to be loud. It's not that, but you've got to be competitive early on to where the fans are invested in the game, and then you kind of see what happens. We will pause it there, wrap it up. Zach, I appreciate you joining, man. We will have you back. Let's wrap this one up like we always do. I'm going to send it out with you. Hit him with that demo.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. And go Gamecocks. Go Gamecocks. Go Gamecocks. Go Gamecocks. Go Gamecocks.